What is going on, internet? My name is Lou, and I make Linux videos, and I put them on the internet. So right at the top of the video, I want to answer a few commonly asked questions. First and foremost, the program that you see running here is FFmpeg. That is what I am using to record this screencast. The wallpaper that you see right here, I will have a link in the video description below to this particular wallpaper. And the distribution I am running is Elementary OS Luna. This is a daily build. Okay, so this particular video, what I would like to do is I would like to go over how to make your own custom Ubuntu Gnome remix. Why make a video on how to do this yourself when there is actually an Ubuntu Gnome remix distro out there? Some of you may want to go that direction. However, I'm the type of person that, I actually enjoy kind of ripping things apart, putting them back together again, and then, making my own custom versions of things. But when you think of a Linux distribution, one of the things we really need to think about is who these distributions are coming from. And so by no means am I dogging this particular distribution, this Ubuntu Gnome Remix distro. The message I'm trying to get across is this. I tend to go with very reputable distributions from large groups, such as Ubuntu, like from Canonical, or Fedora, OpenSUSE. Why? Because these are coming from large groups, large organizations, very well known. When you install these operating systems on your computer, you're putting all of your information at risk in a sense. You don't know who these distros are from. You don't know what things they've done to them. And so for me, I tend to really feel leery about entering a lot of my personal information onto an operating system from someone or a group of people that I'm not very familiar with. So if I can start with something that I really inherently kind of trust, like say for instance Ubuntu, that I know is not really being malicious with my information, and then make it into something myself, honestly, I'd much rather do that. Again, I'm not knocking anyone, but if I can do it myself, starting with one of those types of distributions, that's the direction I tend to go in, and for those reasons. So what I have here is the same install of Ubuntu 12.10 that I used for my review. Now, the only caveat to this whole thing is I am not using Unity. I am using GNOME Classic. I installed GNOME Classic as opposed to working with Unity. Again, all of you know how I feel about that. If you're interested in my opinions on Unity, I suggest to watch the Ubuntu 12.10 review video. But I'd much rather work in this environment. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing is completely gutting out this installation, removing as much of Unity as we possibly can, and replacing it with GNOME. Now, what this is going to do in essence is going to give you a distribution that, for all intents and purposes, looks very much like almost like a Fedora installation, a pure GNOME installation. It's going to give you the very latest GNOME lock screen, which is kind of cool, the very latest GNOME iteration of GNOME Shell, and so on. So, that's basically what we're going to do here. I do have a written tutorial on my blog entitled Make Your Own Custom Ubuntu Gnome Remix. This is based on Ubuntu 12.04. However, I have tested this in 12.10 and this does work. So you essentially don't have to worry about feverishly typing in all of the terminal commands that we're going to be going over tonight, because you can go right to my blog. I will include a link in the description below, and just copy and simply just paste this into a terminal. So let's open up a terminal window here. And let's copy and paste some of these things. So first thing we're going to do is make sure we have all the required packages that we're going to need. Now, if memory serves me correctly, because I have done this again natively on my own hardware, is what will be happening is you'll probably run into a system message that's going to tell you that there was an error that occurred. And if memory serves me correctly, that error has to do with LightDM, because we're going to be replacing LightDM with GDM, or GNOME Display Manager. No big deal. That error does go away after a couple of reboots. And of course, right here, it's going to ask you about GDM. Okay, so just hit enter to select OK. And then we're going to arrow up to GDM and hit enter again. So we're going to select the GNOME Display Manager. Now it's installing all of the required packages. All right, now since I'm already logged into the fallback session of GNOME, I do not have to log out. I can continue to process this, or move forward in this process rather. If you are logged into Unity, log back out and log into your GNOME shell session, and we're going to continue to process the rest of these steps. So, and I did make note of that log out and log back in here in step 2. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to start removing Unity. So to do that, we're going to simply copy and paste this into our terminal. Just select yes, and we're going to start removing packages. Okay, now we're going to, after those packages are removed, there will be a group of packages that are no longer needed. We're going to remove them using auto remove. I'm going to process this step a couple times. Okay, that's good. Now we are going to do a little bit of cleanup here. And as I noted here, this particular step will have to be done a few times. Let's copy and paste that in here to our terminal. And just select yes. And select yes again. Oh. Okay, that's good. Now we want to remove the Unity config files. It's going to purge all of those out. You're going to see that error right there in terms of light DM. Just ignore that. Okay. Now we're going to install the GNOME 3 Team PPA. Basically what this PPA is going to do is going to add all of the packages that were not included in Ubuntu 12.10 because they conflicted with Unity. And it's going to also update some of the packages that we have currently. So I just added that particular PPA. Let's update our system and then upgrade all of our packages now. You know what? I'm going to have to restart this. I did run into an issue where I got stuck on this update step prior. So I'm actually just going to close out right there. We're going to restart. Now again, for those of you who are not a fan of Unity, this may be a better direction for you to go. I'm not thrilled in where GNOME is going, the GNOME project. I honestly expected a lot more from GNOME Shell since its infancy. You're not seeing a whole lot of new things on the scene here with GNOME. That is a little disappointing. I wish there were more. However, if I were to have to choose between GNOME Shell and between Unity, I am going to choose GNOME Shell every time. Again, for my last video, I had mentioned that GNOME Shell is feeling more and more like they're catering to touch devices, touch-enabled devices, whether that be a tablet or a PC. It does feel like they are favoring touch. So here we go. This is the new GNOME login screen here. So no longer do we have light DM. So we've got GNOME Classic, no effects selected. Let's log in. All right, let's go back to our terminal and update our system as well as our packages. Okay, so here's all the new packages that are going to be installed. Here's all the ones that will be upgraded. We're just going to select yes and continue. There were quite a few packages that were left at the previous revision of GNOME because the Ubuntu camp did not basically merge the new packages in enough time to apply their changes to make it in the 12.10 release. So they're stuck on a previous iteration. So you know what basically the problem that they had was they weren't able to include other packages because of this issue, because of conflicts. However, once we remove Unity, that's really no longer an issue anymore, and so you can safely kind of go ahead and update. I will say this one thing though. You're going to end up updating Nautilus, and you know that's kind of a lose situation because Nautilus, there's so many features that have been kind of left out or dumbed down. I mentioned this in another video. It seems like a lot of these projects think that removing features is really adding features. I don't really get that whole philosophy. But, you know, Nautilus was a really solid file manager for a long time, and they're making it worse. It's unfortunate. I know that the Linux Mint team actually has forked Nautilus, and they'll be maintaining their own version of Nautilus because of this issue. So, again, it just seems like so many things are in disarray. And the problem, I think, stems from, you know, there's so many things that are based off of GNOME that, you know, if GNOME kind of makes a decision that's a little unsavory, you know, it takes so much work for people to kind of go around those things. And so what you end up running into is people just forking lots of different things independently. For instance, Linux Mint has essentially wrote their own shell. They forked the Mutter, the window manager. Now they forked Nautilus. So I would love somebody to just start coming out with their own frameworks and libraries, these underlying foundational frameworks and libraries, so they wouldn't have to be dependent on you know, any other project like GNOME. Even Elementary builds upon GNOME frameworks and libraries, and you know, again, I think that ends up just making a lot of extra work because you have to go around certain issues. I'm going to clean my apt cache. And that's it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to log out. All right, we're going to log back in again. Now, let's see if this virtual machine will allow GNOME Shell to load. It may or may not. I do have 3D enabled, so not sure. We'll see. Yeah, it would have loaded by now. I don't think it's going to allow GNOME Shell to load. We're going to power the machine off, power back on again. On a side note, I have recently tried Crunchbang Linux, which I've never used before. And I've never actually used OpenBox. And, you know, it's not flashy, it's not real fancy, but, man, it is quick. You know, I didn't really mind Crunchbang too much. It's built off of Debian, so that's good. You know, what you see here happening is, unfortunately, a VirtualBox issue, because I have done this natively on hardware and didn't run into a lot of issues. So I probably should have selected GNOME Classic with no effects. So let's try this a third time. Okay, one other thing also to note is you don't see under the sessions here anymore. Again, what's not there is the Ubuntu option. That is no longer an option because we've pretty much completely removed Unity. All right, so again, this is probably has to do with the guest editions not installing properly, but we've got GNOME Classic here installed, very speedy, even in a virtual machine. We no longer have Unity, which is very, very nice. Everything loads really quickly. Again, even in a virtual machine, everything seems to load very nicely. And, this is kind of the good old-fashioned GNOME that, a lot of us spent some years with and a lot of us know and love. So, if Unity is not your cup of tea and you're looking for something a little bit more throwback, more GNOME 2-ish, and you want to stay with the Ubuntu base, this is a good way to go about it. And, for those of you who want something a little more new, this will also give you GNOME Shell. So, guys, I hope you liked this video. If so, do me a favor, give me a like. It definitely helps get my videos noticed. I really, really enjoy the comment section in my videos. There's so many of you that are just really awesome people that leave great comments that really start some really beneficial discussions for everyone who finds their way to my videos. So I really enjoyed the comment section and the things that you guys, your opinions and your thoughts the comments that you leave. So I would encourage you to leave a comment, because there's some really nice dialogues that get started in the comment section, and I really, really enjoy reading your comments and your thoughts. So once again, guys, this is Lou. I showed you how to make your own custom Ubuntu GNOME remix. Honestly, I feel like, after all of that stuff gets removed, you just have this really nice, clean system that is really quick, really fast, really, lightweight, not so bloated, I feel. But that is that, guys. I hope you have a great night. Again, I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, we will talk to you later.